Hey guys, Greg here on the Vinyl Rundown. This is the second interview in my tribute to Sonny Rollins. Sonny Rollins, the great saxophone legend, turning 90 in just a few weeks. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit by bringing in a younger player and get a perspective on what Sonny might mean to a young saxophone player starting out. So I'm going to bring in Joshua Childress, coming to us from Torrance, California. Hey Joshua, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Great, great. Thanks for joining us. So, like I said, a lot of these tribute shows they talk about the old timers, and I worked with Sonny for years and years. But Sonny's been around so long, I really wanted to check out the idea as to whether or not he is relevant to the younger generation and newer
Mhm.
players. So, I'm going to ask you some questions, but tell us real briefly how you got into music and what your situation is now. How old?
So
Where are you? That sort of thing.
wonderful. So I'm 22. I'm currently at Bio at my last year. I studied commercial music there. And basically, how I got into music was it was actually a very funny story. I just wanted to be like a cartoon character in second grade. For some reason, I thought Squidward playing the clarinet was very interesting to me when I was in second grade. So I just decided to. I started on the clarinet, and then in middle school, I picked up the saxophone because I saw a college jazz band play, and I was like, wow, that's really close to African American culture, in my opinion, more than classical music. At least that's what I was thinking at the time. So I was like, I want to learn how to play this. And my teacher's like, well, you got to pick up saxophone. You can't play clarinet in the big band. I'm sorry. So I picked up saxophone, and then it went on from there. The passion for jazz just really just developed inside of my heart. And now that's where I'm at today at Biola, studying commercial music and hopefully going to grad school to study jazz.
Well, let me tell the story of how I ran into you. When I'm a big jazz fan, and there's this club that you are aware of that's a block from my house. I walk up there, once a week when I can, and they have kind of an open jazz jam session. I hope this story doesn't embarrass you too much, but I think it was probably the first time you showed up there. You were like probably didn't know people too well,
Hmm.
and you said you wanted to sit in with the band, and the bass player who kind of runs the thing said, "What song do you want to play? Do you remember this story?" And you said, "Do you guys know Mac the Knife?" And we thought, like, you mean the Bobby Darin pop song? It's not like a real jazz standard, and you guys didn't play that song. And I was walked away going, that was a weird choice. But then, like a week later, after I invited you to this, I said, I was going through my records, and I'm like, he's talking about Moritat by Sonny Rollins. Is this true, or am I off base here?
Absolutely. That was my main song that year in
So
2017.
Moritat, for those who don't
Yes.
know, that's from the Kurt Weill Three Penny Opera. It was originally a German song, and then lots of people have recorded it. Sonny Rollins recorded, but he used the German name Moritat, and it didn't click with me that that's what you were talking about. So that's a song that you could lay out on and really go long on the soloing. And I don't think anybody understood it when you said
Mm,
back the knife, and it was just like a communication thing. So, so is Sonny one of the sax players that you listen to, and has he influenced you? Tell us a little bit about that.
absolutely. His playing is just so remarkable. I love the storytelling that he did, especially in Knack Knife and Moritat. That was actually my first Sonny recording I ever listened to. That's the first one I actually even transcribed. His solo was just so I just really felt like I was taken on a wonderful journey during that song, and that's what just attracted me to his playing. Then I got into his articulation, just the musicality that he presents. I was like, wow, like that's amazing.
And had you already started tenor, or was Sonny influential in you picking tenor over alto, or did you start on alto?
Yeah, I started on alto. I still play alto to this day, but just I actually that's the thing was I start when I was playing alto, I came across his solo and I was just playing it on alto. I was like, well, he's playing in tenor, so I shouldn't have a problem with the range playing it on alto. And yeah, and I just felt as I was playing along his solo, I felt like myself just being like very just I can say influence, just very in the moment, like when he was playing. It just somehow put me almost in this trance as I was playing with his solo, and that feeling I never forgot when when I first did that. That's kind of what made me even more appreciate jazz and fall in love with it.
And that's kind of something that Sonny is known for. There's other sax players that do it, but you get your mind into kind of a zone, and it's just you blocking out everything and
Mhm.
going for it. So I didn't really finish the story. So when we saw you show up at this club down the street, we're like, who's this young kid? And he wants to sit in. And all right, he's like younger than everybody else here, but he's wow, he blew us away. Big, powerful sound, aggressive, confident. Um, and I don't remember what song you guys played at that time. Do you guys remember that first day?
I remember playing Cherokee at
Cherokee.
the
Okay,
first time I was there.
that's a standard classic. I don't know if Sonny's recorded that. He probably has. But if you know the chart, if you know the changes, whatever, you can get through it, and it sounded great. So we've seen you play up there a couple times, two or three times. I don't know how many times you've been there, but for those in Los Angeles, who can get out there and see you, it's a real treat. So, is are there other favorite Sonny solos or records that you want to mention besides Moritat?
Most well, so as far as albums, I believe it's called Sunny Side Up. It's like with it's him, Sonny Stitt, and Dizzy, all playing together.
Hmm.
That there's a recording called Eternal Triangle, which is a rhythm changes tune, or a form of rhythm changes. I love all three of them were great, but I love specifically his soul. I love how fat his tone is. I love how his articulation just complements that that recording or that recording specifically. I would encourage everyone to check out that. It's amazing.
I wrote that down. I got a lot of Sonny records, as you can see. I don't
Hmm.
have that one. I got to see Dizzy while he was alive, but I didn't get to see Sonny. You probably haven't seen Sonny play either.
No, not in person though.
Yeah, well, we lost our chance because he can't play anymore because of his lung capacity. That's a
Hmm.
shame. Um, are there technical things in Sonny's soloing? I don't want to get too technical for my audience, but when some people are studying sax, there's like modes and runs and chromatic, and does he have a technical influence on people, or is it more just emotional? And tell me from a sax player's point of view, what can you gain
So
from listening to him?
I would say it can definitely be both. I think it depends on the certain saxophone player. They can take more of that emotional state from him, where some will take more of his technique, his articulation. Um, how I originally came across Sunny Stitt was like I said, I love listening to Chris Potter and the modern sax players. So I kind of just went backwards. I
I like
started
him a lot.
listening to smooth jazz, and then I started listening to the modern straight ahead jazz players. And I was like, wow, I want to sound like these guys so much. And I was searching on all music, that has all the credentials for everyone. And most of these tenor saxophone and alto saxophone players, it says Sonny Rollins was all over. Like he influenced all these guys I listened to. So I was like, I need to really look into Sonny Rollins because at first my younger mind, I was like, I don't want to look at the old school stuff. That's too old for me. I want to sound modern. I want to sound this. But when I was like listening to someone like Chris Potter, and then I went back to Sonny Rollins, I was like, wow, like now I see how he got this sound is because he's listened to this person. And I remember one of my teachers says, if you really want to sound like someone that you like, you listen to who they listen to, get influenced by who they got influenced by. So I would say definitely for someone like some modern saxophones, I would say just like his articulation, the modes, the some of the outside notes that he uses. I see a lot of saxophone players pick that up. I see a lot like just modern players just try to adapt that, but I really appreciate those that really try to take just
I,
the
I'm
emotional
a big
side.
fan of Chris Potter's. I guess he's from England. I don't know if he comes out to LA ever. I've never got to see him.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm gonna ask something about. I'm gonna tell you something about Coltrane in a second. But do you listen to Coltrane at all? And you probably
Yes,
do.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so the interview I did the other day, which you should check out on YouTube, was actually a gentleman named Eric Wyatt. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's
Write that
actually
down.
Sonny's godson, and he grew up with Sonny as his father's best friend, and he was part of Sonny's life for decades. And I asked him the question about Coltrane and Sonny, because those two were kind of considered rivals because they were really big at the same time. And he said, they both loved each other. Sonny was a great friend of Coltrane's. They had no animosity. They just had different styles.
Hmm.
And Sonny would call up Eric on the phone. And here's something funny. He said it was like a lesson on the phone. He said, "So have you worked through Giant Steps yet? Can you play it yet?" He's like, "Yeah, I can play Giant Steps." And Sonny said, "Well, can you play it in all 12 keys?" It's like, that's a workout, man. If you can start that song off in every key and play it through
Yeah.
and so on. So Sonny respects Coltrane and understands that the technical side of his is really,
Hmm.
I guess it's intense, but two very different styles to me. Sonny is much sort of happier, humorous, and Coltrane is very serious. And
Yes.
a lot of sax players draw from both of those. I don't know if you have any comments on
No, absolutely. I
about
absolutely agree with
Coltrane
you on
versus
this.
Sonny.
Definitely Coltrane versus Sonny. For me, that's where I would say Coltrane is more on that technical side. If you take like all this jazz theory stuff, not saying that Sonny Rollins did not do that or did not implement some of that, but it seemed to me more. And at that time when I was younger, it kind of drew like I listen to Coltrane now, but it drew me away from him because I wasn't trying to get all of this jazz theory down so I can just come to a jam session, just play all this outside stuff and play all this super I don't want to say
Academic.
spiritual because he was a very spiritual person. That's
Mhm.
Love Supreme and all that stuff. That's very on his thing. And so I just rather I don't know. It just felt, at least to me, sometimes Coltrane wasn't telling that story. It was more of like just I don't know. It's kind of like he fused the emotional state with the tech with his technique, and it's like the more intense he got, the more intense his technique and his notes, or just a yeah, just like his modes or just his outside notes. He started to increase that the more he got intense. And it seemed like with Sonny, it was never like that. It was always just consistently story. He always starts off with a simple idea. He increases that idea, and that idea develops into something new. Whereas Coltrane would start off with this, not I would say it's of course it's an idea, but it's more like just like a outside mode. Like he might start off like on a if we're playing like a C7, right? He'll start off like similar to what Miles did, just like on a G minor seven with that C7, and then kind of just explode from there. So
Move it
yeah.
outside the signature a little bit. And Coltrane, I mean, he pushed things forward so intensely, but he also pushed beyond what some people are able to listen to. And Sonny always made it more accessible to everybody. And that brings me to a different question. Since you're youth of America, you're a young guy, and do young people? I mean, to me, it's a shame that young people don't really know jazz and don't necessarily pay any attention to it with the type of music that young people are into today. I mean, you're surrounded by music students who get jazz, but outside of that, I mean, what do you think is going on? Is music today relevant? Is it good, terrible? What's on the radio? I mean, do you pay attention to that stuff?
Yeah, I definitely pay attention. Us being musicians, we always want to see like where the music culture is going. I definitely care about that. I believe that in my opinion, I believe to a certain degree, and I'm only going based off of the mainstream because the mainstream is the popular vote. That's what the majority they like these people. So I just feel like the musicality or the true art of music is kind of sort of diminishing now because in most of the songs that we hear, and I won't say like specific names or rappers or anything like that, but most of the songs that we hear now, it's not about really a musicianship. There's some creation, there's some creativity within it, but as far as like just true music, interacting with others, 'cause music it's a language, it's a feeling. It's not just a pulse or like a robotic type of thing. It's very human. So I feel like the human part is starting to get lesser and lesser and lesser because and I honestly believe that that's a complacency within people. I believe that's why jazz isn't as appreciated is because you have to really want to figure out music. You have to really want to appreciate music to really be able to listen to jazz. And I feel like a lot of people aren't there anymore. At least not as of today, they're not. If that
And,
makes
and the,
sense.
the music doesn't have that. A lot of it doesn't have that much to listen to. You mentioned a pulse, so there's dance
Hmm.
music, and then people are rapping over it, but harmonically, there's nothing going on.
Yes.
Almost no chord changes, some
Hmm.
creative rhythms, but some people have compared improvisation of rapping to improvisation of jazz. And I think
Hmm.
that's valid in some sense because it is expressing in the moment. It's just not uh, melodically that interesting.
Hmm.
It might be rhythmically interesting, but that's a whole other topic. What's wrong
Yeah.
with the music business today? We could deal on that for hours, and that would bore people probably. Um, Anything else to say about Sunny? Because we can wrap up pretty soon. And well, tell us what you're up to in terms of you have any projects coming up you want to share with us, or
Yeah, I'm working with a couple of collabs, a couple friends from school. I'm working on currently my originals. It's been a long process. I'm working on the EP right now, so everyone just stay tuned for that. I'm really trying my best. I'm trying to just
is that
pick
jazz
which
or R and
studio is.
B, or what style is that going to be?
So I love straight ahead jazz. I love fusion straight ahead funk, stuff like that. I love stuff like Snarky Puppy. That's a modern fusion
Yep,
group. I
for
love.
sure. Know them? They're
Mhm.
talented guys.
Yeah, so that I love just that style of music. So I'm really trying to do the fusion of that style and then do the fusion of R&B and jazz. So like guys like Terrace Martin, Kamasi Washington, those are like the R&B and jazz fusion. I'm trying to do both of those right there. So I'm just really working hard, and then I'm gonna create an album which Winston Marsalis, a lot of jazz musicians done it. Just a standard album where they're just playing standards and they just like have their own arrangements of those standards. I'm working on that as well.
That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to, when you're a superstar, and you can all say that Greg's channel had the first interview with this guy. That's be like 10
So
years
thank
from
you
now,
so much.
hopefully, when you get those gold records rolling through.
Yeah.
Um, so you got a saxophone with you, and if you want
Yes.
to play something to Sonny, if you want to, I would love you to say a real heartfelt happy birthday to Sonny. You can do that with your voice or with your sax voice, however you want, but it's an open canvas, however you'd like to do it.
Yeah, I definitely like to play.
Are you
I
warmed up?
play.
Is your reed where it needs to be? Ladies and gentlemen, here's Joshua. All right,
So funny. Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Childress, future
Thank you so
saxophone star. And I understand you're going to be applying to graduate school pretty soon.
Yes, I'm
And
trying to decide between USC, Cal Arts, and Cal State Long Beach. So push
come a
me
little
luck.
closer. We're losing your audio. Cal State Long Beach,
Cal State Long Beach, USC, or Cal Arts.
three great schools. Yeah, for sure. USC, who do they have at their? They have somebody big in their jazz department right now. I don't remember.
Bob Minster and Bob
Bob
Shepard.
Minzer, yeah, horn
Yes.
player. And then Cal Arts is out here close to where I live, up in
Hmm.
Valencia. And yeah, I've been up there for some concerts, and great department. Um, I think that about covers it, Joshua. Did I give your Instagram yet? Did I show that on screen? I don't remember if I did.
Yes, it's right there. But I'll just say it's J Child 98. That is my Instagram handle.
Yeah, folks, you're welcome to follow Joshua, and don't forget to follow me, Vinyl Rundown, on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And this is interview number 2 for the Sonny Rollins tribute, and we hope to do a handful of more interviews. So I think that covers it, Joshua. Thank you so much,
Thank you. Thank you
and
so much.
good luck in everything you're doing.
Thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.